BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed, ahoy, hoy. Welcome to episode BRB UK 517. I'm Dan, I'm one of your hosts. Good day, good evening. We're doing a rather rushed show today, so it probably won't make much difference to you listeners, but Coleman's got officially, say hello, Coleman, by the way.
Hi! As he takes a swig.
Coleman's going to officially have about 7 hours less of Tim's rambling to cut out because he's getting Tim Hibbs is getting some Tim Nibs, is what he's doing.
Whoa!
Aren't you, Tim?
I mean, there's an impending food delivery, and yeah, my other half is having to work late.
It's an Ocado van.
There's a situation forming.
Packed to the rafters. It's packed to the rafters with mung beans and nothing else.
Just mung beans.
What you need to do, because I'm quite experienced in this one, you get the order ready on the app of your choice, and then you get to the point where you're ready to check out. You start recording, and then when you get to the point where we say, I have a question, you hit pay, and then it's ready to come by the time you finish recording.
Oh, this is shopping
time
rather
of about
than,
a day.
than delivery.
Yeah.
Shopping, right.
Shopping.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember that thing that other people who don't exclusively exist on takeaway have, Coleman? That.
I don't exist exclusively on takeaway. I just do my shopping in the shop.
In the shop?
In the shop.
Sometimes he goes to the kebab shop. So, you know, or the chip shop.
Well, technically, if it's delivered to you, it isn't takeaway, is it? It's
I haven't had a kebab in like 15 years. Leave me alone.
Ooh, isn't someone got all posh with their airs and graces? That means I've probably had a kebab more recently than you.
No, it just means I don't frequent pubs as much as I used to when I was younger. And then go, should I want to be good right now?
Kebab.
Let's get a kebab on the way home.
Yes, kebab. Because I have a Coleman special.
They did not know me by name. There was no comment.
No, it didn't stop you asking for it, though, did it? Coleman special.
Look, I know I fluctuate in weight, but how big do you think I am?
Coleman special. It's actually getting very similar to an Alan Rickman impersonation.
Hello.
Just noticed, so,
I am very inebriated today.
A Coleman special.
Smashing a glass against the wall going, come on, do you want some or what?
We've all played, guess what, a lot of God of War Ragnarök, which has led to me putting an umlaut over every O I could find in the agenda.
It's fun.
Man, I'm loving that game. It's gone. Things I don't want to spoil anything. We've all had an awkward couple of minutes just before we started recording, trying to gauge where everyone was without giving spoilers.
I would say I'm about 11, 12 hours in. I haven't played that much more this week, unfortunately, but yeah.
You see, I think I'm probably about 11, 12 hours in, but I think quite a large percentage of that is me obsessing over trying to work out how to get to chests, as in shiny chests.
Yeah.
As in chests with loot in, not in. I'm going to stop digging this hole.
That's fair. I am at
That's
the
old
point.
Kratos.
I'm at the point now where I've gone, right, I'm going to stop doing side quests if I can help it, because I'm enjoying the story so much that I want to get through the story. The detours of the side quest stuff, I know. You know, I looked ahead and saw that, yes, once you finish, you can go through and go back and do side quests, much like you could in the previous game, of course. So once I'm done, if I love it that much, I will go back and do more side quests. But I'm enjoying the story, and when you do the side quests, a lot of it does take such a hard detour from what you're doing that you kind of think, oh, I'm feeling
some pretty sweet loot, though. You get some pretty sweet armor that really helps you out.
Yeah, I know you do. And I've done a lot of... Well, as we discussed, I'm actually further in the game than you two are, and I've only just come to this decision. So I've got
throw us under the bus. Why
don't
you?
I'm saying I think at this point,
slackers.
I think at this point
in the game.
I've picked up enough loot to not make it too hard for me to get through the game as is. And I have heard from a few reviewers that said the end of the game was too easy because they went through a lot of the side quests coming into it, and that they kind of made the game too easy at the end of it. So I think I'm at a happy medium now where I can get through the story and then go back and do other stuff, and revisit the game.
Usually, you're the one who, I would say, you're probably more likely to magpie your way through a game, whereas I tend to monster things. But it's interesting it's the other way around. But no, I'm loving it. I hadn't expected the sheer variety of environments in the game. Just the visual design of it continues to astound me.
It's so
if you haven't picked it up, listeners, unless it's on your Christmas list and you're waiting for it for a present, just do yourself a favor and get this game. It's incredible.
I will say, if you haven't played the first God of War game, and I mean the 2017 God of War, not the PlayStation 2 God of War. If you've not played the first part of this God of War series, then go play that first, because you're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't go through that story to get to this one.
Easier way to remember it. If this is the first God of War you've played with where Kratos has a beard, go back one game.
Don't go as far back as God of War. Just watch a YouTube video to get the story, because it takes like
Kratos.
40 minutes to get through all the story.
Yeah, the stories were a lot simpler back then.
Yeah.
It was, he hates all the other gods, wants to kill them a bit, slightly gets distracted by trying to impregnate everything within arm's distance, kills more gods.
Don't go as far back as God of War. Go as far back as God of More. Ooh.
Really?
Just me. Okay.
Yeah, just you.
Yeah.
But this game is great. It is so well acted. I love all the returning characters. I love all the new characters introduced. I wish I could tell you where I am in the game, because there's a point you get to where even more new characters get introduced, and it's they're all great, and I love everyone.
Yeah, it's a game I'm happy not to rush. I would have liked to have had more time this week. I've worked a hell of a lot this week. I'm happy to take it fairly slowly and dig through it, even if I end up not finishing it until over Christmas. I know it's going to be a strong contender for one of my games of the year. I did play a bit of something else this week, which I'll come on to, but yeah, like, it's a very solid game. The only thing I will say is that Droga holes can do one, though.
Oh yeah, they're proper well-hard, mate. I just get Atreus to shoot him in the face.
Yeah, they're the new Valkyries, I guess. The kind of optional.
I've done 3 of them.
Beat up the hard
Three
thing.
of them.
But this time,
I did the first
whereas
one. The second
the Valkyries
one I ended
were
up sacking off, but yeah.
Whereas in the first game, the Valkyries were a thing that you kind of challenge yourself with after you finish the story of the game. These ones pop up as you're progressing the game's story. I'm wondering if there's going to be like a super hard one once you've actually finished the story.
Possibly.
The god of the Draugr, Barry.
Yeah, unless there's an even harder Valkyrie type thing that's going to pop up once you're done. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm excited to see what happens once you're finished.
Yeah, it was good the last game afterwards. So yeah, interesting to see where this one goes.
It's actually making me want to go back and play the first game again after I've done this game.
Well,
but I know we've got too many games to play at the moment. So,
although I have to say, it is serving as a very nice palate cleanser from probably slightly overdoing Destiny for me. It's quite nice to play a game that isn't Destiny. I know before I say that.
It's so weird to hear you say that.
I found out there are other games. That's incredible. Blew my mind.
I was thinking about this last week when I was editing, because I knew we were going to end up talking about God of War quite heavily again this week. And I think we've only done this with one game previous, where we've done one show on the first impressions and then another one more kind of heavily into review side. And that was Cyberpunk. And that was only because we were quite kind about it when it first launched, when we played like an hour of the
hang
game.
On a minute.
And then the next week went, hold on, this is broken.
You say, sorry, we were all terribly drunk on the Kool-Aid, ladies and gentlemen.
Although Cyberpunk you later came back to as well, Coleman, so that's slightly different.
Cyberpunk's now become one of my favourite games of all time. So there you go. So yeah, Cyberpunk.
Lovely some Cyberpunk. But I finally finished Plague Tale Innocence as well, although that slightly broke me for God of War because I got so used to the bizarre mapping of sprint to right trigger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which slightly messed me up for God of War. So when I meant to run at stuff, I just swung a axe at it.
That's
instead.
one thing I didn't mention about God of War, actually. I ended up swapping buttons almost straight away. I swapped X and O over.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. Also,
my dodge
turn
being
on automatic pickup.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that. I've been told that.
Yeah, it's really handy, and it's really contextual. It's good and contextual as well. So, like, if you're in the middle of a fight, it won't go, "Oh, look, shiny hack silver on the floor." I'll stop what I'm doing and get stabbed in the face because I want to pick up the shiny thing off the floor. If you're in combat, it'll only pick up health and rage, and if you're at full health or full rage, it won't pick it up. So it actually has done it quite cleverly. So I recommend turning it on.
I think when you're in combat, you can only pick up those items anyway, because I had a moment where I was trying to pick up something while an enemy was far away, and it would, Well, I think there's only I think it's only health and rage you can pick up in combat anyway, and then the other things just kind of wait on the floor for you. So that might just be the same type of thing. I did encounter one odd thing that's only just started popping up, and I don't know if it's my controller. I'll have to use my second controller and see if that's the issue. But when I click the stick to start sprinting, sometimes my character will just start attacking, and I don't understand why. I'm assuming it might be a controller thing because I haven't heard of anyone else complain about this.
It's that you can do while you dodge and then go into a move. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, you can unlock those.
This is literally, I'm out of battle and I go to sprint and my character just starts swinging whatever around they're fighting with.
Perhaps he's just really angry.
Yeah, I mean, he
Perhaps
is an
he's
angry
just
man.
really, really angry.
I was going to lastly say, it's not in the reviews, and I won't go into it too much, but I think it is worth mentioning that you get to play as more than just Kratos this time, and you get different variations of support characters, and I really like that. It's a great way to breathe a fresh lease of life into this game.
Yeah.
And they're really interesting the way those support characters support you.
Yes.
It introduces really nice gameplay mechanics that perhaps you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
So,
I won't go into it too much, but that's as much as I wanted to go in, because again, it's not I'm assuming it's part of an embargo that you can't mention that in the reviews if you got your review copy of the game, but no one seems to mention that, and it's a really cool thing once you get to grips with that and go, it's really opened it up for me. That's awesome.
But I have actually been using the opportunity, now that I've rediscovered other games apart from Destiny, actually picked up a game I'll talk more about next week. But the only reason I want to mention it is because it's currently on a Steam sale for £5.99, and I thoroughly recommend you pick it up because it's fun. It's a game called Besiege, which is a bit like, you might have heard of it before, where you are an invading army. You've got to build a thing that's going to destroy the castle in front of you, and that's basically the premise of it. It's destroy things, build stuff, explosions, comedy, flames. It's great. Play it.
So Besiege.
It's a bit like, what was that game when you were a kid where it was like a tabletop game,
and there was two castles,
you had
and you catapulted things.
It's a bit like that.
Okay. I don't remember the game.
I like blowing stuff up. What can I say?
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that mechanic, but I can't remember what the game was called.
Sure, it's Googleable.
Besiege.
Googleable.
Besiege.
Googleable.
Besiege.
All right, moving on.
Besiege.
You really have put umlauts and everything. Don't put them in the headers because I'm using those. Sorry, behind the scenes, listeners, Dan is really sticking umlauts into everything, but I need him not to do that into the titles of stories because I use those in the actual
I could just do
chapters.
I could just do find all and replace, Coleman, for
no,
over the umlaut.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh God, you've put them in everything. How bored are you? I'm sorry if recording the episode isn't entertaining enough for you, Dan. You've got to find different means.
It was like 3 flipping keystrokes. It was file, find, replace, umlautio.
Umlautio.
An umlaut.
Okay, well, according to the words of the laws of the umlaut,
chaos.
Tim has been playing Ghost Song.
Nice.
I will mention that quickly just because it might be of interest. It's something I was trying on Xbox Game Pass last week or week before even.
Right.
But anyway, week before God of War came out, I had a little go. It's a Metroidvania with a kind of nice hand-drawn style. It's got some interesting mechanics going on. I bounced off it a little bit, in truth, but that might have just been my slight impatience to I want to get to God of War now kind of thing. It seemed okay. It might be of interest to people that really like Metroidvanias, 2D platforming and stuff, but yeah, not entirely my thing. So the one I wanted to talk a bit more about was the one I was playing and just started playing this week, which is Pentiment. I don't know if you remember. It was a game
Pentiment Man kneels before God.
Yes. I don't even remember. It was a game that was announced a while ago on, I think, one of the things at like E3 sort of time. I can't remember.
One of the things. I remember it well, yeah.
It's one of Jeff Keighley's things, or one of them. I don't know. It was on something.
Actually, that doesn't narrow it down.
Maybe
Summer Game Fest.
Was it Summer Game Fest? Or I wasn't sure if it was that or just a general Microsoft presentation, whatever it was. But yeah, it was announced a while back. They announced that it was coming to Game Pass as well. It's made by Obsidian, who previously made The Outer Worlds, along with going all the way back to other RPG games. I think Pillars of Eternity, one of the versions they made. That's
a great game as well.
and the sequel
Fallout
to
New Vegas.
That's not so much.
Fallout New Vegas was there.
That's good.
Very highly rated. Like, a lot of people really liked it. What was the other one I was thinking of as well? The sequel to Knights of the Old Republic, basically. Knights of the Old Republic 2, which I don't like as much as the first. But anyway. But yeah, this is a very different departure from their last game and their usual RPG type things. There is some light RPG mechanics, but it's generally a very odd graphical style that is definitely very much its own thing, but it's very much the kind of illuminated capital letters, hand-drawn books by monks come to life, basically.
It looks a bit like, well, like almost like kind of Bayo tapestry type stuff, almost.
Yeah, it's more kind of illustrated books than tapestry based, though. It's definitely taking itself from that, and it's definitely got those actual books in the game as well. For me, it's got a real kind of Name of the Rose, if you remember that film. Like, I actually read the book back in the day, but it had like Sean Connery and Christian Slater in. It was set in the past. It was about monks and stuff. It's very much got a bit of that feel to it. It mentions actual historical figures and takes a lot of reference from the past. It very much looks like a hand-drawn
historical thing.
16th century book, very much in keeping with the story of the game. You are an artist that is illustrating books in I don't think it's a monastery, but it's that type of thing alongside a church and in a place where there's nuns and priests and stuff, basically. And yeah, as I said, it does have some RPG elements to it. There are some elements, but they're kind of nicely woven into the fabric of the story and the way it kind of works out. Like you don't just pick your character traits from a list at the beginning of the game. You kind of pick them as it works its way through conversation with other people in initially your house and that you're renting, and the village people, and then people within the kind of religious establishment. As I said, don't think it's actually a monastery, but it's that type of thing. So yeah, like different people that you interact with kind of help you fill in the story, and you kind of pick the option that you're replying to them, but then that becomes a character trait of yours. So it could be part of your education, or it just could be some of the way that you understand the world, some of the places that you've traveled to, and that will then inform what languages you can speak, which will mean that you can understand different scripts and other things, and when people are literally speaking other languages. When you are then getting into and I haven't gone through too many of the decision things. I've probably played the first hour and a half-ish or so, but there was a decision point, and I'm trying not to give too much away from the story because the story is very much a pulling factor to the game, and it might be totally different depending on the character traits you've chosen. But when you're trying to persuade someone, it will show you like all these things are weighing in the favor of a good thing that's persuading them, and all these things are weighing in the favor of dissuading them from your position. They can be things that are your character traits that you've chosen, but they can also be just decisions you've made in conversations as well, and the way you've treated people or the way you've spoken to someone. So it's got a very kind of, it gives some heft and weight to every decision you make in the game and everything that you say. And whether you want to be, play yourself or play a character, or it helps you get into the mind of, okay, I think this person would think like this, or I think they did this, so they would react like that. I really like it from so far. It's one I said that I thought was interesting when a lot of people were being a bit dismissive of it when it was announced, but I was keen to keep my eye on it. Really pleased that it was coming to Game Pass, because I think it's that meant I didn't have to buy it and I could play it just through Game Pass. But B, also, I think it's a good game for other people to get to experience, because it might not be something that people necessarily would have gravitated towards spending money on, but I think will enjoy if they play it and have a look at it. It also does, and this may be of more interest to me because I work along with fonts and stuff on a regular basis, but there's a real emphasis on the fonts that they use in for different people in different conversations. So a religious person has a kind of old Englishy type font that looks very gothic and very sort of difficult to read, but kind of in keeping with them. And then someone that's more suave has a kind of more ornate handwriting and stuff like that in the font style. It does make some of the fonts a bit more difficult to read at times. I kind of wish there might be an option to, and I'm not sure if this is the case, but do subtitles of the text, but you can just substitute that text entirely if that makes it particularly difficult for you to read. It's just an interesting use of fonts in a game that you don't usually get to see. And you also see it like handwritten out and then inked in, which again is in keeping with the style and story of the game as well, which is just a nice effect. Although find
Tim,
that sound
if you
a bit
were an
annoying,
actual character in that game,
yeah,
I've got a feeling that your script would come up in Comic Sans. Am I correct?
I mean, my original comic in Sarcastic Gamer did start in Comic Sans, so somewhat ironically, but it's also a good...
I've got beef with that font.
Yeah,
don't like it.
Not a lot of people do.
No, everyone hates it.
Don't like it.
The only time it's worthy is in Undertale, where there's the two characters, Sans and Papyrus, and their two fonts are Comic Sans and Papyrus, which I like.
Excellent.
Every time they talk, their fonts are in that font.
No, but I have to know, hearing you describe that actually makes me much more... This is an unusual experience for me to have. Makes me more inclined to play. Because I have to say, looking at the screenshots, I kind of went, right, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure I can be bothered with that. But actually, it sounds like it kind of the screenshots don't at all do it justice, which is a lesson for me. Don't judge a book by its cover and all that.
Well, yeah, that works.
But yeah, I will. Yeah, might be a good thing for me to have a little fiddle with over the holiday period.
Ooh,
I know, right?
Rather.
Bash that bishop.
Cool. So that's Pentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Pentiment.
Pentiment.
Available on Xbox Game Pass and possibly other things, but yeah.
I think it's available on PC Game Pass as well.
Yeah. Some form of Game Pass.
Right, you've got a bloody PC. Don't give me that nonsense.
I don't know why I did
that. It means
that.
you can play it as well, Coleman. Jesus.
Yes. Although not today, because I left my deck at work. Why
do you leave your dick at work? Don't put your dick at work.
Well, I've got a bit of a bad back, and I don't know. I couldn't see myself sticking that in my backpack and taking it home today because I thought I'd give my spine a rest from the weight of that damn thing.
It's not that bloody heavy.
I'm joking.
Friend of the show, David, has got what he described as a thing that I think he said that got a Steam Deck, but he says that this one blows the Steam Deck out of the water in terms of graphical fidelity and other bits and bobs. So yeah,
what is it, Tim?
I had a quick go on it. I can't remember what it's called. That's the thing.
Great journalism.
Excellent. Games journalist Tim Hibbs.
Yeah, I will report back on that when I've had a bit more of a fiddle. I literally got to play on it for a couple of seconds and had a quick fiddle with Sniper Elite, but
there are definitely more powerful handheld PCs than the Steam Deck, but I think what makes the Steam Deck work is the fact that the Steam Store, everything, all of the kind of the compatibility layer is baked straight in.
Yeah,
so,
that helps.
There's that to consider too.
But this one ran Windows, I think. So yeah, anyway.
So can Massive Dick.
I will give the Steam Deck this. It's become my favorite emulation machine.
Oh, isn't it just?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it good?
I now need to go out and get a terabyte SD card because I've got plans.
you have plans.
I have plans.
None of which involve going outside.
evil plans.
But only for an hour and a half until the battery dies.
Yeah, it's a good point. No, it's not as bad as that. It's at least 2 hours.
Well, I spent a similar amount of money pre-ordering something else this week anyway. And
Coleman
you
invested in, Tim?
I have invested in a PSVR 2 pre-order.
I saw Tim was complaining on Twitter saying that he didn't get his email to pre-order PlayStation VR, and I did. So I sent him a link directly to it and said, "Can you access it through this?" And he said it says sold out. So I guess it's tied into you having to log in and your account if you've signed up and all that kind of stuff. The details they take on PlayStation's website. So that didn't work out. Then we tried that. He got to use my pre-order and I paid for it. Well, he paid for it with his credit card on my account, but it just would not put the payment through on my account. And then at some point I went, "Did you check?" Because I didn't get a confirmation email. It was on the kind of confirmation
I was expecting
that
a
I had
separate email to say
pre-order.
You've been invited to do your pre-order, but it wasn't. It was an update to the email that they'd already sent me that I'd activated. And I was like, oh, okay, I obviously didn't read that part or didn't do that part properly. But then, yeah, that at least alerted me to how to do that, Mr. Coleman. So you came to my rescue in that regard. But then, yeah, I have pre-ordered. I just got the headset and the charging dock thing. I didn't get the one with the Horizon game thing, but hey.
Okay. Well, on the plus side, we're going to have an excellent giveaway at the end of the show because I've got Tim's credit card details.
Hey!
Shouldn't do that on the internet, Pat.
No,
I'll blur it. I won't. Enhance. Zoom.
yes, that's exactly how it works.
All right. Those are all the games we've been playing, including Bank Fraud.
Yes. Legitimized identity theft.
Should we do some of the news? 2 picks of the week.
2 picks,
looking
please.
At the umlauts.
The 2 picks.
We've been kind of glossing over this for a little while. Oh my God, you've done it on the hyperlinks as well. You git.
You broke all the hyperlinks.
Twitter.com.
Put it back. Put it back.
I didn't break it. The hyperlinks are bloody fine if you still click on them. It's just the
.com.
text of them.
Docume.
I have to copy and paste those, but yes, okay, fine. We haven't been talking about this as it's been going on because we've been kind of waiting for a bit more of a bit more information to go on. But there's been some kind of stuff going on over at Bethesda where, initially Doom Eternal came out and there was a bunch of stuff going on where fans were going, "Hey, the soundtrack's really cool," and then the composer was coming back and going, "Well, that's great, but I didn't work on all of it because reasons." And there was some kick up about that. So 2 years on, is it Matt Gordon, the composer?
Yes.
He's gone onto Twitter. He's put up a lengthy kind of statement saying that id Software hadn't paid him correctly for the game's soundtrack, the work that he put on it. And also it was a hell working for Bethesda because when they were pushing for his amazing soundtrack to be made and didn't have enough game for him to work on levels and stuff, he wanted to work in a different way of making the soundtrack, of composing and then kind of fitting it to the game rather than composing the soundtrack around the game because there wasn't enough to work with yet, which they declined him doing. And then he took a different tact and then they had a problem with that. And then the soundtrack wasn't finished in time and they got a new composer to take over. And there's been all this madness going on around it. So he's put on
there beef? Is there beef? Is what
there be beef in between Gordon? Yeah, Gordon and Bethesda, they be beefing. But today, as we're recording, there's been a statement from Bethesda put up on Twitter, which kind of says that the statements made by Gordon aren't 100%, and they're kind of saying to fans, don't blindly believe what you're reading from one account where there should be 2 accounts put in place, but they're not particularly putting an account in place themselves. They're just sort of saying, hey, we're not going to say what's true and what's not. We're just going to say, hey, don't believe everything you read.
Well, as with many of these things, it's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Probably no one's entirely in the right here.
I mean, one of them maybe being a bigger bellend, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's also usually the case. But, you know, that he's without blame on and all that.
Well, it's this part of the statement on their tweet that interesting. Bethesda wrote that they reject the distortion of the truth and selective presentation of incomplete facts.
Rather ironic considering what's going on Twitter at the moment, but never mind.
Yeah, I was thinking with that kind of statement put out against a talent that was employed by the company, this sounds a little bit like the controversy we've had recently with Nintendo and Platinum and Bayonetta 3 and the voice actress and all that stuff that we've recently just put to bed. So we'll see as it progresses. But yeah, it's been an interesting week for Doom Eternal.
Doom.
I'd forgotten that game existed, but you know.
I want some kind of book in game development of all like the biggest fallouts and someone to just uncover the truth of everything, because there's so much fallout, especially around Activision, that I want deep journalism. I want to read all the stories.
I'm really the ones I'm looking forward to are the brouhaha around the ending of Mass Effect 3 and also original Destiny getting binned at the last minute. I really want to hear those.
Who's the studio that they left? They were doing Call of Duty with Activision and they left and went off to do Titanfall for EA.
No, it wasn't Infinity. It was original Infinity. They turned into Respawn.
That's right. Yeah, there's a story there that I want to read.
But they were OG Infinity Ward.
That's right. Yeah, I want to read that story.
There's a good documentary on Netflix about a game that didn't really hit from a studio that have generally had hits. But it's an interesting one. It's Housemarque is the studio in question.
Now PlayStation owned.
Yeah, and it's called Name of the Game. But it's without spoiling too much, it's a game that they worked with a legendary game developer to bring back to life type of thing. And yeah, it didn't go so well, basically. But it's called Name of the Game. It's an interesting documentary worth watching. Shows you like what can happen when a game doesn't quite come together, basically, but still gets released.
Similar kind of vein. I've given the guy props before, but there's a channel called Matt McMuscles, and he does a show called What Happened, and it's about film and video games, but mostly video games. And it will go through the either problematic developments of a big game or a game that just completely failed on launch, and we'll put the story behind that. So there's things like, one of the more interesting ones I thought was Mass Effect Andromeda, and the amount of work that went into that to kind of get scrapped and started again, and the sheer scope of what that game was meant to be that didn't pan out. Yeah, there's really interesting stuff like that. He's got to cover Destiny. You're right, Dan. There's an interesting story there.
To be written there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there's legal battles put in place to stop people speaking out about what happened there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Matt McMuscles, check him out. Interestingly, this week, we had a bit of a theory about this when PlayStation went, hey, here's PlayStation Stars.
Yep.
Not a return to All-Star Battle Royale, but in fact, a kind of reward system for you playing games and buying stuff on the store where you can get little virtual trophies to stick in a trophy room that no one will ever look at, and you probably won't look at, and just exists for some reason. And
I got told I leveled up on PlayStation Stars. I couldn't give a rat's ass.
I have quite a few of those trophies already. I've got to plug in my PSVR to claim the last one I need before it finishes, just because I like completing. Although one of them is literally buy some games out of this list of 50 to 70 quid games. Like, no, I don't want FIFA. Leave me alone.
You do want
to get a little digital trophy
for the shiny thing. The shiny thing commands it, Coleman.
There was
FIFA.
a lot of rumors that this might have been an NFT program put in place initially, or some kind of crypto-based program in the works that at the last minute had been changed out for earn points kind of thing. Now, this isn't confirming that's what happened, but it looks more like this may have been true, because Eurogamer have reported on there was a patent from PlayStation, from Sony, back in July of 2021, which related to them doing some form of crypto NFT program. So maybe that could have been what became PlayStation Stars, but it would make sense, and it would make sense because you may look and go, oh, PlayStation working on this, that's disgusting, NFTs, crypto, bad environment, all that kind of stuff. Everyone, big company, was probably looking at crypto and NFT in some form or another in 2021. Now, not so much. A lot of people are stepping away from that. Big crash at the moment. A lot of weird stuff going on with crypto.
Cryptocurrencies,
Yeah, NFTs are getting pushed in all kinds of ways, even though the platform has pretty much died at this point. So, can't blame Sony for trying to get involved. You got to appease your shareholders.
Yeah, it's kind of quite cynical. Whether it's like kind of, I think in the patent itself was things like, hey, look, you too could own the actual gun that this person used to get the winning play in super awesome Epeen Adventures Tournament 37, and that's something you could show off about for here and ever. It just seems like another way to extract money out of people.
It's very similar to Ubisoft's, was it Ubisoft Jewels or Gems or something along that line? It's a very similar program to what Ubisoft were working on, and that kind of died on its ass out the gate.
It's okay to have bad ideas, and it's good to have not acted on them. So this is good news in a way. They decided not to do this.
Filing a patent kind of implies that you really wanted to act on it, though.
Yeah, but Sony, if you look through PlayStation's patents, there are some mad things. We were speaking about a little while ago, a couple of years ago. There was the the diagram of the little cloud-looking man who was going to be a buddy that monitors you as you're playing your games and gives you feedback. And
little creepy
they
guy.
have some mad patents at some time. Nintendo and all the stuff, they wanted blood oxygen monitors while you're playing your game, and I've seen pads that can shock you and all this kind of stuff. There's always
you have to
weird patents.
Try and be predictive with patents. You have to kind of try and be ahead of the curve, otherwise you won't make. So that means you're going to have some zany ideas sometimes.
There are some amazing. I've now Googled list.
You've gone down a rabbit hole.
I have gone down a rabbit hole.
Uh-oh.
Things like electrified tablecloths.
What reason?
Beer brella, which is a device that keeps the sun off your beer. I
Okay.
like that.
This sounds like
a motorized
Shindogu
ice
stuff.
cream cone. So if you can't be asked to turn the cone round,
I thought you were at least looking at Sony patents on our video game podcast.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You know.
a mug incorporated a simulated artificial horizon, an electrostatically enhanced game. Wow. All right, I'll be back in about 7 hours. See you later.
Okay, nice one.
All right.
Yeah, this sounds a lot like, I don't know if you remember in the 90s, there used to be a lot of focus on a guy in Japan called Shindogu and his company Shindogu Industries. And his whole thing was just mad inventions. And it was things like, and some seem useful and some seem really rubbish. It was things like the spinning fork for spaghetti, or a rotating umbrella hat to make the rain spin away from your face as it's hitting you. And one that I thought was kind of cool as a kid, and then kind of think it's horribly gross as an adult. It was like a Vice soap dish. So when you've got the little ends of soap, you just keep them in there, and then you clamp them all together to make a new bar of soap. That just sounds infinitely gross at the same time.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, but his whole thing was just mad inventions that weren't for. I'm
There's a
assuming
YouTube channel on that about this guy just makes really dumb inventions.
Yeah, I've seen there's a woman who does that as well, and really crap robots, and it's things like a mannequin's head to smash you in the face.
I mean, that to be honest, I would subscribe to a YouTube channel called Really Crap Robots.
Really crap robots.
I'd seriously sign me up. Sign me right up for that.
See, this is dangerous we talk about this stuff, because last time you were talking about carpet cleaning with pressure washers. So what happens is when I'm listening back doing the editing, and it's around about midnight, and I get to this point where we start talking about stuff like this, I'll go, oh yeah, and then I'll look it up, and then I'll lose another hour when I should be editing.
Mate, I tell you what, wasn't I right about that rug power washing stuff? It's so satisfying.
Yeah, so I do a dual screen thing when I'm editing. So on one screen I had the podcast, and on the other side
and the other one, crap Dan says.
Like a 3-hour video of carpets being cleaned. That's quite nice.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
I was going to send it over to you two and go, look what Dan has done. And then I went, oh, it's like 1:45 in the morning. I probably shouldn't send that.
You're welcome, buddy.
Last couple of bits, and these are nice quick ones, but did you like Control 2?
I like Control 1. I quite like a Control 2 if there is one going.
That's what happens when I read while I talk. Did you enjoy Control from Remedy?
I love Control from Remedy. Is there going to be a Control 2?
There is going to be a Control 2. Remedy have confirmed. It's in development for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, along with the PC, of course. And
excellent.
I'm wondering if that's the reason why Control got given away so much in this generation. We got it free on PlayStation Plus, the Ultimate Edition. I believe it's been thrown on Game Pass, even though they argued it wasn't going to be on Game Pass. And I think it's been given away on Epic Game Store for free, and just so many kind of giveaways of this game. Makes sense to get it out there as much as you can to then go, yeah. And also they've given away Alan Wake Remastered recently as well. They're just giving stuff away over at Remedy. It's the mad.
Give it away.
Give it away, because we're getting ready for Control 2. But yeah, that was a big hit.
Can I just say, though?
Yeah.
On that note, one of the things that I think we saw this with Cyberpunk, and I don't know if they've done it for Remedy. Not Remedy, for Control. Excuse me, sorry, brain fade.
Is that Remedy 2?
Yes, Remedy 2. Seriously, I'm old. Don't make me lose train of thought.
I just destroyed your train of thought,
yeah. Yeah, so, where was I? Yes. One of the things they've done with Cyberpunk 2077 is, that kind of upscaling technology that a lot of mod GPUs have. I think with part of the patch they did for Cyberpunk 2077 for consoles was that it actually used that upscaling tech for AMD. It's called FSR, Fidelity Super Resolution, or something like that. I'd be interested. Did they do that with Control as well? Because there was certainly on the PC, there was one of the big initial games that was kind of really shouting ray tracing from the top of the roof, whereas kind of consoles at the time couldn't really push that ray tracing. Those ray tracing visuals at a decent frame rate.
If they did, it must have been for the Ultimate Edition re-releases for the 5 and the X. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. I was going to say the update you're talking about on Cyberpunk, I think that wasn't part of the 1.6 patch. That was like an additional thing they added within the last week or so.
Okay.
Which I've been meaning to go back and try out, but God of War has been a call-in. Can't wait to get back into Cyberpunk.
Last headline.
John,
here you go.
Oh, we can do. Interesting one. I
just think this is a bit ironic considering the most recent Diablo. Hey, but you've got phones, haven't you? Game Diablo Immortal and NetEase.
This is a story about Activision Blizzard and China. Two big things with very questionable morals. Right. Activision Blizzard, their games are available in China.
Two big things with questionable morals, like Donald Trump and Boris Johnson.
Working hands to give them, my friends.
Oh, God, that's a horrible mental image.
I was thinking Uyghur working camps, but, hey, whatever. So Activision Blizzard, they have announced today, in fact, as we're recording, that several of their game franchises, including Overwatch, Diablo, World of Warcraft, and more, will not be playable in China as of January the 23rd next year. And the reason for this is because the Blizzard side of the business, they work with the Chinese tech company NetEase, who I believe they're the guys who made the Diablo mobile game.
Right.
They publish all of Blizzard's games in China, and they are struggling to work out a deal going forwards on what split profits and all that stuff works out. So now their agreement will expire in January, and I guess until they find a new publisher or they re-up their contract with them, all their games through NetEase are getting pulled in China in January.
Oh. I have a question. What's going to happen to Diablo Immortal then? Because that is developed by NetEase.
It's going to be a ironic name because it won't be going on and living forever.
Immortal. It'll be Diablo Mortal.
Yeah. I would assume it still gets pulled because it's Blizzard's IP, and that is part of the. I did look at the lineup of stuff that's getting pulled. That is one of the games, but it's interesting because there's been so much focus through movies and television and video games to corner that Chinese market because it is a huge market, a massive population of people to sell to. You can double your profits by selling to China that you would just through the US and the UK. So it makes sense to go there, but there's questionable morals, stuff going on in China that doesn't quite float around the rest of the world. And also, there's now been a focus...
Understatement of the year, mate.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying not to get too heavy into the political side of things to keep things light and moving, but there's also the kind of side of things where China are stepping back on their game development, what's allowed, because they're putting more restrictions on what the average person is allowed to play. They're putting time limits on how much you can play each week, each day, especially when it comes to like children, which does make a lot of sense.
Yes, you shouldn't spend too long playing on children.
Whoa!
You're right, Coleman.
My mind went different
Uncle
places,
Savile.
and I'm going to take the podcast there. Like, are we banned in China? Is that what we're saying? I mean, possibly after Coleman's comments 10 minutes ago, but a few minutes ago, maybe more. But can people listen to podcasts? Are they freely available? Is that a thing? I don't even know.
I'll have to ask my stepbrother.
Yeah,
because he does Chinese stuff.
It would be amazing if we were like some kind of underground resistance podcast in Hong Kong or something like that. It would be incredible.
I like the idea of people, in North Korea where they take their media from people in South Korea, like send over USB sticks of stuff to watch movies and TV
wang a USB stick over the fence.
Yeah, I want to know if we're if we get smuggled into North Korea at all.
So if you have
smuggled us into North Korea, please let us know.
if you have muled a copy of BRB UK into an autocratic or dictatorial nation, please let us know. And also
we
what
won't
the storage
use your
medium
real
was,
identification on the podcast,
and how soon it was before you could sit down again. All of these are key facts that we need to know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just thought it was interesting with all the kind of news around China and media in general, and now Activision Blizzard have pulled out for a completely different, it's monetary reason completely by the looks of things, but it's just an interesting thing to add. I'm looking at our stats to see if we're received in China. Sorry if I sound a bit distracted while I do this. Tim's got me thinking now.
I'd imagine we probably used to get downloads in Hong Kong before that all went sideways.
China.
USSR.
6 downloads.
Woo! How recently?
Long? That's since August.
Tap in the Chinese market, eh? We can double our amount.
I'm going to do all the listens this year by country. Go to China again. 25 downloads in China.
Ooh. All right, so
I didn't know Spambots got that far.
Let's assume they were all from different people.
I'm assuming it's one person.
Why are we assuming this?
That means they listened 25 times. We've had way more episodes. Maybe this was the year they fell off, or they just discovered.
Yeah, might be. If you want to know what our penetration of the Chinese market is, we have reached potentially 0.00001.8%, 1.8% of the Chinese population.
That's some good maths from there.
Woo!
Does it tell you how many in North Korea, or is that information restricted?
Oh, I don't just shut it down. Don't just start asking me about countries. This does give me an idea, though. I might go on my VPN and start masking my IP to really random countries.
Are you really sure you want to go on VPN and ping yourself up with a North Korean IP?
Yeah, why not? I'm gonna go listen to the Gamers Confessional and make those guys think they've got a small audience in like Uganda or something.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, look, whatever keeps you off the streets, big guy.
I worry about how much time you spend, editing the podcast and stuff, and then sometimes I worry how much time you seem to have on your hands.
No, it's why it takes me so long to edit.
Anyway, we are going to wrap this show up because Tim has a steaming hot delivery of vegetable-based goods coming to his door. So I would just like to remind you that if you want to fly the flag for BRB, or maybe wear my face on your chest, you can go to tpublic.com/stores/BRB and get some sweet, sweet merch.
Nice.
That's right. Sweet merch. Including mugs and T-shirts and masks and stickers and other objects. Miscellaneous objects. That's right. You can get the BRB stuff on them. So,
kites.
Yes.
Big red barrel kites.
Kites.
There's no kites.
For flying.
Birds or the thing
kites?
on the end of a stick.
No birds.
The thing on the end of the string and the sticks. And kites.
Neither of either.
Neither of either. Okay.
Well,
Tim,
we can add that to the store for the next week.
No, we can't.
What, the birds or the kite?
The kites, please. And then I'll think of something new for the week after.
No, there's only T-shirts none of
my suggestions are broadcastable.
Stickers and other bits and bobs.
Squeegees.
Tuesday.
No kites.
Tuesday, Timothy.
Tuesday.
We're going to get on topic, Tim.
Yep.
Tuesday. Tell us about Tuesdays. Tuesdays every Tuesday. Every week, every Tuesday. Every week, every Tuesday. Tuesday every week. What happens?
Yes. Every Tuesday we do an event called Tabletop Tuesday. And first of all, I'm going back in time to last Tuesday. This preceding Tuesday.
Back in time?
This week. But yeah, we had a podcast listener come down and visit. Pete, won't give his surname away.
From China.
Pete, who has appeared on the show in terms of asking questions before, but actually made a personal visit down to Tabletop Tuesdays, all the way from Edinburgh. So, yeah, or near Edinburgh. And yeah, it was kind of, popping all the way down. It was really nice to meet him and see him in person. He does have a friend in town, which was the other reason he was visiting, sort of thing. But he did also make an effort to come along to Tabletop Tuesday. So
wow,
it was really
for a
nice.
shade at Tim, Pete.
Really nice to
So
meet
I'm
him
only
in
here because
person.
someone else who I actually want to hang about with is.
Joined him with some games, but also had some very complimentary stuff to say. I won't go into full details, but generally he kind of said that, and I'm extra glad to do this because this is something that I think podcasts have done for us at different points in our life, but has definitely done for me. I will speak for myself on that front. We helped him through a bit of a bad time, especially during early bit of lockdown and stuff. And so, he was just really grateful and had some really lovely things to say. Was kind of very much please keep doing what you're doing because it has an effect on people and has a positive effect on people, and was very complimentary of his time and his feeling of being part of the community within the podcast as well. And maybe getting further involved in the future. Spoilers, but we're glad to have him on board. But absolutely lovely guy. Really sincerely. A pleasure to meet him. A pleasure to actually help him through a bit of a dark time in his life and to see him come through the other side. But absolutely lovely bloke and lovely to meet you. It was an absolute pleasure. Glad you came along. It sounds like it won't be the last Tabletop Tuesday he might make it to. But thank you very much for coming down. An absolute pleasure to meet you. And other podcast listeners feel welcome to travel. Unfortunately, Pete's not the furthest travelled person to come from the podcast. That's either Australia or one side of America. I haven't actually measured which one was furthest away. But we have had quite a few people visit from all over the world. Always an absolute pleasure. And it's a real nice reminder that there is a positive side to the silliness that we bring to people's lives on a weekly basis as well. So, that was just a really lovely thing. He was very complimentary about both of you as well, and wanted me to pass that on to both of you. So,
did he say that I'm the best one?
Of course,
no, he didn't.
Because he knows which side
he said I was the best one.
On my slaphead.
Wow.
I mean, didn't you once have not to get too much into this person's personal life outside of films and stuff, but didn't the actor that plays the Flash once come to Tabletop Tuesday?
Yes.
So how far is Star City? Are they the furthest travel? But they were really quick getting in.
Did they just show up by accident?
It was a very short journey, so just passing through. Didn't cause any trouble. Was very nice. So
I mean, they came from a fictional American city, so they must have travelled the furthest because they had to come in from another dimension.
From the multiverse.
From the multiverse, Tim.
There is no.
I mean, seriously,
they had to use the Speed Force, Dan.
But this guy came in from a fictional universe who literally had to will himself into existence.
Themself.
Yes, that is an excellent point. Themself.
Really hard to keep up with that sometimes.
So anyway.
Anywho.
Before I put my foot back in my mouth.
Keep working on it, Pete. You might get access to the Speed Force soon.
Yep.
Indeed. Anyway, but sincerely, Pete, you are most welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on this week, though, at Tabletop Tuesday?
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, that's slightly up in the air for reasons logistical.
Not like Tim's going on a tangent?
Stuff. But we will have a different feature game this week.
Are there no tables?
Each and every Tuesday, we have a different feature game, usually a board game or a card game. And if you play that game that week, you have a chance of winning a copy of the game at the end of the evening. Last week's game was, a really good one. Thank you very much for Big Potatoes for supplying the
Big Potato Games.
Shoot for the Stars, which was a good game about guesswork. The slight guesswork this week is what this week's game's going to be. I have games in hand, there's some logistical things I need to solve before I announce the thing this week. So it might be a bit of a late announcement.
I have a question.
I was a bit busy at work this week, so I didn't actually announce anything. But,
I have a question.
Yes?
Is it a lack of tables? Is it just Tuesday this week?
We have plenty of tables,
it's not
and chairs,
right?
And alcohol,
right?
And bartenders, and video games, and board games, and card games.
Right.
They're all good.
Kites.
No kites.
Lots of kites.
Kites.
All of the kites.
So that's.
Do you know what? We had 3 listeners from Aruba.
Oh, what about Bahamas?
The Bahamas. I'll try and find it. But 1 listener from Ukraine.
Yay.
Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
That's Tabletop
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We are getting very sidetracked.
On a Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Stoke, Newington. Go there to play Tim's Mystery Game Night. That'll be
mystery.
Tim's Mystery Game Night.
Spoiler alert, it's going to be Boggle.
Yes. If you have enjoyed this show, then please may the All-Father help you, because we need your help. We need your help to get involved in this show. We need your help in helping us like reach new members and stuff. You can go and
my
leave
help
us.
not good enough anymore?
We need everyone's help, Dan, not just yours.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing the help by recording, you see.
Right, okay.
Tim is also helping by not throttling his microphone at this moment, and I'm helping by editing and putting out the show and doing all the heavy lifting. And you can help listeners by going out and leaving a podcast review on what smuggling us in.
If you have smuggled us into North Korea around the business end of your sigmoid colon, please let us know.
No, because that's only one download onto a stick, and then they're handing out the stick.
Go.
Tim's got his hard out.
I'm going to go. I'm going to leave you. Goodbye.
Bye, Tim.
Have a good week. I'll see you later. I'm going to go get food.
Bye, Tim. Yes, you can help us out by going over to whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Say, for instance, if it's Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and that somehow helps us in the algorithm and makes us available to other people that may not have seen us and discovered us before. 5 stars help us. I mean, you can give us a 5-star and call us all a bunch of wazzooks if you fancy, but as long as the 5 stars there, that's what helps us out. Really nice of you. Thank you for doing that if you have done so already. And the other way you can get involved is to go over to either bigredbarrel.com and look at our comments section of this here episode. You can go to Discord, which we have a link on bigredbarrel.com also. We have a Facebook and a Twitter at Big Red Barrel, and we have a YouTube Big Red Barrel TV.
Do we have a Mastodon?
No. Should we set up a Mastodon?
I don't know. Should we set up Mastodon?
I'll have a look at Mastodon.
Have a look at Mastodon.
Tim is back. There is links to all of those social media and what have you available in our show notes. But while you're having a look at those, you can ask us a question on any of those platforms. It does get back to us. Say, I have a question, much like Connor Gray has, which ties in nicely to our Tabletop Tuesday chat. And says, I have a question. Following your weekly support of Tabletop Tuesday, it's not really support, Tim runs it. But what are your favorite tabletop/board/card games? I'll go first. Nice, easy one, because it is a classic, and I don't particularly get into board games and card games and what have you, but there is one that I will play every time if you ask me to, and it's Ticket to Ride. It is my favorite
I thought you were going to say
of all time. I love that game. I
have you played Ticket to Ride London yet, Coleman?
That game. I do have Ticket to Ride London, Tim.
Okay. Yeah, I like that's good for 2 players, basically. Oh, and speaking of which, one of my favourite 2-player games is actually behind me, Hero. It's not one that's generally talked about a lot, but it's a very good 2-player game. Yeah, that's good. Some of my favourite ones are right behind me there as well.
Hungry Hippos.
Well, Scythe is one of my other favourites. I really like that. Lords of Waterdeep is one of my other favourites. Star Realms is another good favourite 2-player game. Keyforge as well, I really like. So yeah, it depends on the time and the place and the size and the situation of game, but yeah. What else have I got there? Oh, Wingspan, that's another real favourite as well. But I play a lot of Gloomhaven too, so that would have to be on the list. So yeah.
So all of those ones, that's Tim's favourite game.
Yeah.
Good. What about you, Dan?
I haven't properly played like what you guys would call a socially acceptable board game.
Did you play Risk back in the day and Hero Quest and stuff like that? I did play
Risk back in the day. A Pandemic I did play a bit of. I quite like that.
The best thing about Hero Quest is the size of the miniatures.
Yep, damn straight. I like me a little bit of Space Hulk back in the day. What can I say?
Yeah, I bought a new version of that recently. Well,
Space
a few
Hulk's
years
good
ago.
times. I like Space Hulk.
Speaking of tabletop adventures, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for Dungeons and Dragons yet.
No.
Whoever is making that film has clearly misunderstood what people like about that game.
Have they lent hard into dungeons? And
no,
is it full of people wearing GIMP masks?
No. It's like watching a Marvel movie set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. It's all very quippy and silly and making fun of the
Chris
source.
Pine is a thief.
Yeah.
Right, isn't it?
Oh dear.
I think it could be okay.
A thief bard.
But like
I'm sure
it'll
be fine. But fans of Dungeons and Dragons, as far as I understand it, they're like Magic Gathering fans. You know, they're hardcore into the lore of it.
Magic Gathering.
They treat that stuff very seriously. So when you then make a product that's an official product, making fun of the thing that they like, I don't know. I think they're expecting more. You'd expect more of like a Lord of the Rings treatment and less of a this.
Less of a this.
Less of a this.
Less of this. I swear there's
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up.
There's quite a large market in like D&D campaigns that don't take themselves that seriously in terms of like things that are actually popular.
I know there's
and
that.
Stuff
There's
online,
comedy shows and stuff.
But I can see what you mean. I can see where the Uber fans will not be happy with a non-serious treatment of their thing, but I don't know. I think that could work. I'm not completely writing it off yet, but yeah, we'll see. But then, yeah, as you say, I'm not an Uber fan, so...
I'm probably wrong. I thought Ready Player 2, the film, when I saw that, was going to flop hard, and it was like one of the best-selling films that year, and people loved it. But, you know, who am I to say? Everyone's got different tastes. Yeah, exactly. A very big nothing burger. We'll take one of these ones from Ed, and I'm going to take his one from this week. I like his question this week. It says, "It's me, your boy, pumping mad irons in the gym. And I know you boys."
A man after my own heart.
Yes, he says, "I know you boys like to get a good sweat on too. What video game music do you find helps you get into the zone?" His one is
Into
from
the
Yakuza,
zone.
Surprisingly enough.
Straight up. World 1-1. Straight up.
I'll go with the Super Mario Land mix thing, one that was a single back in the day.
I have a playlist of all the soundtracks to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and I use those in the gym quite a lot. I do quite like taking a walk to the Katamari Damacy soundtrack sometimes.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay.
I used to take walks to the LA Noire soundtrack, and that used to make me really paranoid if it was late at night. So I had to stop listening to it.
To be fair.
Yeah, the same with the not video games based, but I did the same with the Inception soundtrack. And like for a while, I was like, I feel really cool walking around to this music, and then after I was like, I started to feel like really paranoid listening to this stuff. There was a lot of rrrs in there. He had a second part to the question, which is, you've already spoken about good games this year. What are some of the least good games you've played? One so bad you can't even discuss them on the podcast, which we will leave that because I think that will make for good end of year discussions.
If we can't discuss them on the podcast, then we can't
I mean on the podcast today. Shut up, Tim. You know what I'm saying.
No, in his question, one so bad you can't even discuss them on the podcast, we wouldn't be able to discuss them on the podcast. Right, I see. But I can't think of any games that we wouldn't discuss on the podcast. But if they were so bad we couldn't discuss them on the podcast, then we couldn't discuss them on the podcast. Like, it's a silly question to ask on the podcast. He should ask that question in real life.
Yeah. Well, if a game is so bad, we still talk about it on the podcast. I remember I reviewed The Quiet Man.
Yeah,
and
don't waste
it's so bad that it was called The Quiet Man from Square Enix. It was a very bad game, and it was one that me and Tim were curious about because it was a brawler. And when I finally played it, I got so annoyed with it that when I started talking about the show, I ended up shouting. And I remember Kev was on that week, and after I'd finished, he was like, "So you don't like it then?"
Yeah, not a fan.
That's kind of what I was getting at. No, not a fan of The Quiet Man.
I think I've managed to protect myself from very terrible games.
I'm trying to think of like what's the worst game of all time. I remember a game called I think it was called G-Nut or something on the Amiga. I remember really hating that.
Isn't that 50 Cent's group? G-Nut.
G-Nut.
It's what I don't play. It's what I don't do during November.
I thought that was No Nut.
No G-Nut November.
No G-Nut November.
That's where you don't eat nuts, as we know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As any fool knows.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is you normally eat nuts, Coleman. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I want to table that question because I want to use it on a different episode at some point.
Don't stick it through a table.
Sure.
Know what you wrestling fans are like.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep. Always throwing people through tables.
Mm-hmm.
We love that 3D move.
Can't get enough of it.
Can't get enough of that good old table stuff.
Yep.
I think that's the end of the show.
I think. Do you know what? I think it should be.
There's been everything.
Thank you for listening.
We've been looking at listeners in China and North Korea. We've been Tim's got his shopping in. Been discussing stuff.
Thoroughly professional week. We haven't said anything that's going to get us banned from YouTube, so that's good.
Woo. What could get us banned?
Everything we said about China.
No, they have
North
their
Korea.
own YouTube.
And every time
Fine.
you mention North Korea, it gets worse.
Like an access.
Someone don't say North Korea again, okay?
What? That's not going to get us banned just saying North Korea.
Yeah, it might get us slightly demonetized, but we don't make any money
well,
anyway.
that sweet
So
North
that's
Korean
fine.
cash.
No. I'll explain later. Let's finish up.
All right. Okay.
Can't get less than no money, yeah? They're not going to make us pay them because we said too much crap on the podcast.
We could be so terrible they start invoicing us for bandwidth. Anyway, we are going to go now. So thank you ever so much for listening. As Coleman said earlier on, go visit those corners on the internet. Generally, anything with a /Big Red Barrel in it, unless it's BigRedBarrel.com. Don't go to BigRedBarrel.com/BigRedBarrel. You'll break the internet. No, please, no. So we'll be back next week where probably we're still going to be talking about how awesome God of War Ragnarok is, but we'll try and play some other things.
I might play some more Marvel Snap.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I'm up to don't
so
bring
good.
that into the conversation as
good.
we're wrapping up.
I know.
We'll save that till next week.
If I've got the dates correct, then I think I'm playing Pokemon Violet.
Oh, hello.
Oh.
There we go. That's what
I'll
we'll
be
doing.
playing
That's
something
what he'll
new
be
for
doing.
next week as well, I believe. I'm not sure I can talk about it yet.
Even
so
though I
I'll-
suggested that we all play it in multiplayer and try to out Pokemon each other and take it really seriously. Didn't like the idea of that show. Just me.
Right.
Okay.
We are
Forgot
going
you
now
even said
because
it.
we have run out of time.
Yeah.
Yep. So, internet, go there, click on things, find
stuff.
us again. It'd be lovely if you did.
So many cool things there.
Yeah, we're going to go. So all that's really left is for me to remind you that I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
I have been Mr. Chaos.
You have.
Mr. Chaos.
Wow, look at you being
Ooh.
looking all formal this week.
That's right.
Chaos Esquire.
I've got my
See,
business socks on. You may refer to me as Mr. Chaos this week.
Business
Well, lovely.
socks.
Okay. Yeah, right. But no trousers or pants.
Oh, they are business socks.
Lovely.
I can see serious
Wow.
business socks.
Serious business. All right. Well, I mean, I can't top that. So we're going to go. Thank you ever so much for listening. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
Here we go! Swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one step, and then together let's do the Mario all together now.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
Funny though it would be having Jesus go, "Hey Kratos, man, stop punching me in the face. I have a duty."
That's your
man."
Jesus, is it?
You know, that's
that
my
you?
Jesus.
Pretty good.
That's my Jesus impression. Hi Tim, Jesus here.
Mate, have you seen Jesus in the pictures? He's ripped.